Hi, welcome to Locums-Wise, getting you from where you are to where you want to be. I'm your host, Mark Poole. I'm so excited today to have my friend Manuel Gonzales, who's a specialist in staffing with locum tenens. He's been in the field for about 5 years now and works for one of the top companies in locum tenens. We've become good friends, and he has placed me at a number of different facilities. I am so excited to have a conversation with you today, Manuel, and hopefully help some people learn a little bit more about locum. So thanks for being here.
I appreciate you having me, Dr. Poole. I think we've been working together now about 2 years, right? Our relationship has gone beyond the workplace, and I think just as much as I've taught you about locums, you taught me about healthcare and cardiothoracic surgery, right? And in general, so I do appreciate that, and I hope that your viewers can use some of the information that you and I will talk about regarding my experience and my knowledge with locums to help them on this path and answer any questions regarding locums as a whole.
Sure. No, I appreciate that very much. And actually, I was going to ask you if you could give us just a brief intro, because you served in the Marine Corps right before you got into staffing, and just give us a little bit of a feel for how your pathway went. How did you get into this, and what is it about locums and staffing that kind of gets you going and gets you excited? Because like me, you seem to be 100% committed. Like you want to do the absolute best job you can in what you're doing. So tell us how you got to where you are today.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a little bit unorthodox, actually. I wasn't expecting for me to end up where I'm at today. It's definitely a blessing, from God. I've learned a lot. Getting out of the Marine Corps was a huge choice and transition for me on a personal and professional level. When I got out, I decided to go to school, use my GI Bill. I actually majored in exercise physiology. My track path was to actually be in medicine. I wanted to become a physical therapist, as during my time in service, I accumulated a bunch of different injuries, right? And I just wanted to learn how to take care of myself while doing physical therapy myself, and also help out other people, including veterans that may have gone and gotten injured while in service, or people in general out there. I did complete my undergrad. COVID did happen, which did change my track path a little bit, as it did for many people, right? And even though I'm not in the medical practitioner today, I'm still very happy that I ended up in this role where I'm still able to, I think, contribute to society in a way of partnering up individuals like yourself, practitioners like yourself, and many others with hospitals all around the country, to work together and help being able to meet patients' needs, right, and get the patient to a better state of physical health.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate that. It sounds like you had this leaning toward healthcare, and you're still in it because you're able to help people and programs find each other. And I think you told me at one point that you had done some staffing for traveling nurses. Is that right? And now you've transitioned over more to the locum side. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I actually started out with physicians. At the time, 5 years back, when I was about to graduate from college, I had a recruiter reach out to me, talk to me about the industry, and my brother-in-law is also in the industry himself. He works for Weatherby as well, with a different team. But I talked to him about it because he's had way more experience than I do in the field. And talking to him, digging his brain, it caught my eye as a way to really look further into healthcare from a different way, from a different branch. And at first, I started out with physicians. I had some things in between that led me to make a move down south to Fort Lauderdale, and I decided to transition into doing nursing staffing. I did that for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years at the most. And then, there was always an itch to go back and work with physicians again, right? And then I decided to go ahead and interview with Weatherby, and here we are today.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. I feel like having worked through different types of practitioners and kind of different situations, that seems to have given you a breadth of understanding for how it works. And I appreciate that. I was going to say, you have always done A++ work with me, Manuel. I really appreciate you. I hope you know I'm not just saying that. And I wanted to maybe get into how you have provided that service, and a big part of it is communication. That you've always taken good care of me, to be very careful to communicate, a lot of back and forth. Maybe that's some of that military training, to confirm when someone has said
Right.
something, right? But I just wanted to commend you for that, and also give you a chance to speak about it in terms of how you approach interacting with clinicians and programs to be able to provide a successful link.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words and the gesture for recognizing that. I know in my field, communication is a huge aspect of what we do. It's really a combination of healthcare and communicating on a daily basis with practitioners like yourself, and finding what do we need to do to provide a full solution to many of our clients, these hospitals, on a huge scale, from small towns to big cities all around America, so that they're not going off without coverage, having to possibly divert patients to other health systems, and of course putting patient health at risk. But I think communication is a huge part. That's something that I strive to be better at every year. People have the let's get back in shape New Year's resolution. Mine is always, let me be a better communicator, right? So I can communicate it better with you, and then other providers that I work with as well.
Oh, I love that. I appreciate that. Very well said. So a lot of our relationship, I feel like, is built on just our personal dynamic. But I wanted to say I've also appreciated Weatherby, the organization that you're with. You as Weatherby have always done an excellent job taking care of me. So what would you tell people out there who are thinking about locums, maybe don't have an agency yet? What would you say about Weatherby in terms of what you guys bring to the clinicians, and how you can help them kind of get into it?
That's a great question. I think for anyone that might be on the verge of doing locums or not, I'm wondering if is it for me. I mean, I hope this podcast here can answer a lot of those questions, and perhaps push someone to do so, or maybe answer at least some questions on that matter of subject. But I think with Weatherby, what we like to do best, and we pride ourselves, and me individually as a consultant, I like to pride myself, is making everything really on a more personal level, right? Connecting with you on a daily basis, and finding out how to make things better for both sides of the tree. Making things that'll work for you as I'm partnering up and working with you, but also make things that will work best for our clients, for the hospital, so that the ultimate goal is, of course, to provide the best patient care possible, right? And that is my personal goal, and I think that's the same goal that I share with my organization. So I think that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves in being able to emulate. Keeping things on a more personal level, and not so much mainstream. As we know, with technology getting further advanced nowadays, we see a lot of AI and things being taken into place, and we're starting to see it now, and medical staffing come in with smaller agencies using a lot of it. But we still try to strive to maintain everything on a more personal level, between the consultant, right, and the practitioner, right? And how do we find that great middle ground, so that we can also help these hospitals with their needs and help out these patients that are needing our help.
Right. No, I appreciate that. I love how you said it, this personal contact and making it feel personal. I've felt that myself because Weatherby's a huge organization, right? Y'all are,
Yes.
I mean, among the top, very top locums agencies in the entire country. So you're a national organization, but it doesn't feel that way. I don't call a 1-800 number to get help. I call you.
Right.
And I know we're friends now, so I can call you anytime, day or night. Really, I know you're not
Of
really
course.
advocating for that necessarily, but that is the level of service you provided, and it's been great. So I appreciate that. What I'm saying is that you guys have done what you were saying you were trying to do, and I appreciate that. That's a lot of integrity, and that is how I would want to run an organization if I were doing it. So that's great.
I appreciate that. I appreciate I find it that you and I have talked about this, having a relationship that really digs into maybe a more personal level, does a lot of things. Whereas, the last thing that I want to do is be able to find you a job and then you don't hear from me for months. I never want to do that. I want to make sure that we're still building and growing, as partners together going forward. And I like to offer the same relationship and the same judgment and gesture to everyone that I work with.
Right. No, that's awesome. That's great. I mean, even yesterday we had a pretty long, detailed conversation, and I have to say I appreciate it. I felt like not. I don't really have a lawyer. Okay, follow me for a second, but I feel like when I watch TV and stuff, like a good lawyer just listens. They don't judge. It's like analyze the situation and figure out what to do. And you and I had that kind of conversation. You were like, "Hey, how can we figure this out? Just tell me what you're looking for. Tell me what you need right now." We had a conversation 2 years ago. What's going on right now? So I really appreciate that listening and then actually problem solving, because you and I had a few situations. I wouldn't have thought that would come up that much, right? But a few
Right.
situations, maybe it was just logistics, travel or something, or even interactions with facilities, my own schedule, just having to come up with solutions to problems that I didn't think we would have to. But that's something I've appreciated as well, and something that you are able to help with is, okay, here's a problem. How can we solve it? How can we get around it? How can we make the program and me both come out better off rather than have to sacrifice something because of the problem? Don't you think? I mean, I feel like that's
Agreed.
that's where you're really providing a lot of help for me.
Yeah, no, I agreed. I think being a good listener is part of being a great communicator, right? And that's something that I've worked and developed over the years, and I'm still have much, much room left to grow. And that's something that I think makes a vital um, portion of our job, to be effective listeners, right? So that we know what is really the intention and the motive behind what you may be looking for, and then comparing it to what our clients are needing, right, and being able to match that up.
Right. No, that's great. I appreciate that. We can all be better communicators, that's for sure. It's something you
True.
never really master. Well, let's touch on. Oh, I was going to ask you actually that you, in particular, your specialties that you cover are cardiothoracic, my specialty, and
Yes.
neurosurgery as well, right? Are
Correct.
there any other specialties that you yourself take care of?
No, not right now. I say right now because I don't know if that'll change in the future. But for the time being, just both specialties, cardiothoracic and neurosurgery.
Okay.
Weatherby does take care of every service line out there, and locums in general. There's really a demand for all medical specialties out there. So regardless of where you may be in practice, chances are there's a locums in your hospital, working there, through an agency, in any specific field. So
Right.
it's a growing market for sure.
Well, and I just read a week or two ago that over 90% of hospitals in the U.S. Use locums in some capacity at this
Yeah.
point. So I think you're right, and it seems to be growing. You've been in it longer than me, but even in the 2 years I've been doing locums, it seems to me like more and more opportunities are passing my view, and I'm sure that's true for other specialties as well. Well, let's get deeper into. Let's say somebody's thinking about this, and obviously, if they're in CT or neurosurgery, they should call you. But if it's a
Of course.
different specialty, like how do they look on the Weatherby website or something? Like how does somebody even just start looking for a job or connect with someone to help them to look for it?
We do have a very user-friendly website, that anyone can go ahead on, weatherbyhealthcare.com and browse to what we do as an organization. There may be some information regarding specific jobs and, our mission objective. However, even if there is someone that I can particularly help because it may be out of my scope of practice, out of those two specialties, the people here at Weatherby, we're all a team, right? So if you call anyone, including myself, and you're from a different specialty, I'll make sure that I delegate your information, and I'll partner you up and put you in line with someone that is going to be able to help you in that specific team. Because here at Weatherby, we really try to make things as we're a family, right, and it's a team effort, right. So just because I can't personally help you look for a job, there's always somebody that can, and I'll make sure that I put you in contact with that person.
No, that's great. Now, you are personally located in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yes.
Do you oversee some geography? Like you cover neurosurgery and CT for some portions of the United States, or it's like all across the country, or how is that organized with Weatherby?
In terms of the region that I am able to work with, pretty much all of the United States. I'm not limited to any specific region. I know that there may be some companies out there that do things a little bit different than we do, right? But I am able to cover pretty much every single state.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's where that team concept comes in, that you're not battling another Weatherby person for some particular job. You are just all trying to find the right fit for the program and for the clinician.
Of course, yes, right on the dot.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. Well, let's say somebody calls you and they've been thinking about doing locums and have never done one before. What would your message to them be, or how does somebody know that locums might be a good fit, or what are the characteristics that you think a clinician brings? For instance, I'll just start it off maybe in terms of, I'm finding flexibility. You have to be flexible to go to
Yes,
different
sir.
places and meet different
You
people
got
and
it.
and kind of roll with it when the plane is late or something, that kind of stuff. But what are your thoughts about that in terms of, okay, we got flexibility, but what are other characteristics that you find clinicians have that make them successful doing locums?
Yeah, that's a great point. I always like to use the big three. The first one, like you already talked about, is flexibility. The other one being adaptable. Having adaptable skills, and then being reliable. I think those are the three most important things that um, are going to make you a successful locums provider. Flexible can come from a plethora of different branches and different things, different scenarios. As by now, so many things can happen, and that also includes being flexible with the way you're building your calendar. Right, the hospital may need specific stretch covered, right, and during the summer that they can't get their internal staff to cover, or even find anybody else to come in and help, and that may not be something they can move around. So it may be a conversation where myself and the practitioner may have to find a way to maybe switch things around in order to fulfill that need. And then an adaptable perspective, you know better than I do that every program in this country probably runs a little bit different, probably operates a little bit different. I'm sure there's like a baseline for medicine and how things are done, of course, but everything is different. And sometimes we go into a foreign place, whether it may be a different program, a different state, or even a different city that we've never heard of. And we're as a locums provider, you're essentially expected to really hit the ground running with very little to no training, and be able to give the best service so that you can really help them with their patient needs and patient good quality patient care. So adapting to a foreign or unknown situation, right, where you may have to work with people you've never worked with, and also adapt to the way they run their program is certainly a very important attribute and skill of being a successful locums provider. And that also runs along into being reliable, being someone that they can count on, right? And being their go-to guy, because they know a lot of these programs, they know it's hard to get good help. It's hard to get help, and sometimes they'll, better than I do, they'll go through many locums because nobody wants to stick around or nobody's a good fit for the program for many different reasons. Being a reliable part of that program and going in to include yourself as part of their family and their staff, right? And not just I'm here to swing by and leave. And I think that's a very important attribute of being a successful locums provider.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. I've seen that myself, how important those things are, the reliability as well, because these programs don't want to have to worry about you showing up and stuff. And I feel like most clinicians are going to be good about following through, but it's doing what you said you would do. And for me personally, I would just add to that, like I've found it's a nice restart each time
Yes.
that I work, I go home, I come back, and it's almost like reinvigorating some relationships somehow, or
Right.
it's kind of nice to be able to, I like to say, be as friendly as I want to be, and that's just how they take Mark Poole. So
Right.
I think that's a positive about locums, is you kind of get this fresh start almost each time, and it's just interesting to meet new people, try these new things, and the flexibility goes both ways. I feel like I have to be
100%.
flexible and adapt and that kind of thing, but I get flexibility out of it where I can schedule certain days and have my kids' birthdays off and some things like that. Do you maybe want to speak to a couple of the top reasons that you find clinicians seek out locums, or why they like to do locums?
Of course, I think you just started with it. The autonomy of it, being able to have a little bit more control of not just your practice on maybe on a schedule level, but your lifestyle. Like you said, you can pick when you're working, what you're offering. Coming together with the program, especially once you've been going somewhere for a good while time, and still taking some time to do other things that you love as part of your practice. I know with locums, you can really look at locums on a big scale in terms of what is needed. There are people that do locums on an ongoing basis as a quote unquote full time job, where they're covering a program 2 weeks out of the month, sometimes 3 weeks out of the month, and then having a week or two off. There are some that are only using to complement their current practice, right, where they're still have a permanent job, but they still may be requiring, they may still have some time. Maybe their practice is not there where they want it to be. So they complement to utilizing locums, providing sporadic coverage, weekends, or even holidays. And I think what I've noticed, right, in so far in my tenure here is that everyone who is now utilizing locums and transitioning into locums is also benefiting from really focusing on practicing medicine and doing what they love to do, and not so much the politics and all the other things that are not so fun when you're in all the bureaucracy of a permanent job, right? So and we're starting to see too an upscale increase, and a lot of providers are close to retirement, right, that may not necessarily want to hang up the coat and say it's over. They still have a passion for it, right, a vocation for their career, but they may not want to do it at a full-time basis. So locums may be a great option for them, right, where they're still able to work half of the month and then utilize the other half for their own well-being, for whatever they want to do.
It's a great point. I'm mid-career. I don't intend to retire anytime soon, God willing, but I have thought it was kind of the perfect way to ramp down at the end of a career, to still stay in the game, still working, but to have more flexibility in scheduling. I've met some retirement age clinicians whose spouse goes with them on assignment. It's not a vacation, of course, but it is a way to travel together
Right.
and see some
Sure.
places you might not have seen before. So I always thought that was a interesting use of locums, or a nice way to cap off a career and transition to retirement. So it's a great point. What
Agreed.
are some of the areas? I feel like CT is pretty hot. Like I get a lot of, you called me a lot about opportunities opening up, but what are some of the other specialties? It just seems like the market's pretty good for clinicians right now, but what are there specialties in particular that are doing very well at this time?
Yeah, no, certainly. By the way, I'm still looking for that Hawaii job, so just
Yeah,
stay
you need
put.
to get on that, Manuel. Come on, you've been letting me down on that.
That'll come. That'll come one day. But
That's right.
no, thanks for asking that. Outside of, I know the need and the specific task that a locums may be required to do depends on their specialty. So, for a cardiothoracic or a neurosurgeon, it may be completely different for someone that is in emergency medicine, right? So far, I think probably some of the hot specialties that are in the market in terms of demand is probably yours is one of them, cardiothoracic, due to the shortage of practitioners, right, that are coming out of school with each year, and it's getting smaller and smaller. Other specialties include emergency medicine that we talked about, family medicine, anesthesiology, and I think advanced practice, which is a big field as it is as well, is one of those on top of the hot specialties that we're seeing in the locums market.
Gotcha. And Weatherby covers both physicians and mid levels like APPs, right? Uh, Physicians,
Yes,
assistant nurse practitioners. Is that true to say?
correct. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we do have a team designated for mid levels, and that's our advanced practice team, which is
Okay.
consisting of physician assistants, NPs, APPs, things like that. So, we do have a pretty much a designated team for. The only thing that Weatherby specifically doesn't pertain to right now is something somewhere below, like nursing and a therapist or things like that. But any type of physician, we have a designated team for.
Great. Well, tell me, as we wrap up, what are your thoughts about the future of locums, and especially, kind of a 5-year horizon, maybe a 10-year horizon? You mentioned AI, and I'm not sure how that might fit into it, but just give me your impression as somebody who's in the know and been doing this a while. Where do you see the trends? What's going to be happening with locums in 5 to 10 years?
No, that's a great question. There is definitely a trend that our data gives us a trend that we're still increasing in demand. There's still a higher demand today than there was 5, 10 years ago for locums.
Okay.
I know there's probably a lot of research to do with that. I may not know entirely how much that would be for other specialties, but for yours, for example, it really pertains to how many graduates are coming out of school each year, as opposed to how many people are starting to retire. But overall in locums, there is a growing trend. Every year it grows and grows, and I don't know if there would be any other way to reinvent the healthcare system for locums not to be present. If there is, I don't think it will be anytime soon. But I think locums is just going to it's going to keep growing and growing every year as it is. And I think the stigma too, like maybe 10 years ago, there was some stigma that locums wasn't really a very attractive. It wasn't the thing to do. I think that's also starting to go away. Over the last few years, it's gone away quite a bit as we're seeing a huge increase of practitioners doing locums between full-time locums or complementing their practice with locums.
Yeah. No, that's great. I agree with you. I had that perception myself that it wasn't really for your A players, but I've seen that no, it's some outstanding clinicians that are choosing to do it because of personal and professional reasons. So it's a great
Right.
option. I'm doing it full time, as you know. I don't have a different job that I go back to, so I'm really enjoying it. And once again, I appreciate you so much, Manuel. Thanks for what you're doing, not only for me but for the programs and practitioners. I love how you describe it's all for the patients. It's all for patient care. Appreciate that very much. So, any last comment for us as we wrap up? Any bit of wisdom you want to cap it all off with?
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me here, giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge and experience, with
Right.
you, with your viewers, right? And yeah, I know locums is to some people maybe still strange or very new, right? But I always say there's always an opportunity to try it out, right? And I think if you don't try it out, you may not know if it worked for you or not. And I think maybe at some point you had that specific question in your mind. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy. I'm blessed of our relationship, and our friendship, and I'm looking forward to the future of us working together, right, and being able to help out many other medical practitioners and hospitals at the same time, so that we can provide the best patient care possible. And looking forward to the next time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was going to say this. Let's do sequel part 2 next time. And this is the tip of the iceberg. You and I have talked for dozens of hours
Right.
about many different topics, but there's so much else about locums we can talk about, and I'd love to get deeper into it for people who are doing it. The tips about how can you be even more successful,
Right.
and how can you win the team over once you're there, and how can you streamline some of the logistics and things like that. So we'll definitely have to do it again, Manuel. Appreciate you so much. And as you do, I look forward to continuing to work together and for our friendship to grow. So thanks again. And thank you for watching. And God bless you on your journey as we seek to bless others.